Welcome to the Becoming a Principal podcast, a podcast for aspiring educational leaders. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Matt. We're high school administrators in Ontario, Canada, and we are excited to share our experiences with you. This podcast is designed to provide inspiration and support for educators considering leadership roles. We plan to discuss a range of topics related to educational leadership to help you on your journey to become and thrive as a school leader.
How you doing today, Matt?
It's great.
You had a good day?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Another
What
great
about
day.
you?
Great day at the office.
Yeah, there you go.
Can't get much better. Today,
What are we talking about?
Today we're going to talk about discernment. So we did a little bit of research on suitable discernment questions for aspiring principals. And I'm not going to lie, we did enlist the assistance of generative AI.
There you go.
Yeah, well, I did. And Matt's going to basically see if these questions hold any weight here, if they're actually decent discernment questions. So we're going to go through a few today. We actually have 5 that we compiled that we feel are good discernment questions, suitable discernment questions for someone pursuing the role of principal or school administration. So we're going to go through them one by one. So the first one that we're going to discuss that would be a good discernment question, we believe, if you're considering the role of principal, is do you have a passion for education and a strong desire to impact students' lives positively? What do you think about that question, Matt?
There you go. You know what? I love it. Obviously, that's number one. What we do is, it's all for the students. I'm actually going to add on to it, though. Impact students' lives and the people of the community, too, because our schools are the heart of the community. And I feel like your school, wherever you are, it matters a lot to that neighborhood or that town or city that you're in. And that's what people want. So you're not just there educating the students within the walls, but you're there to be a prominent place in your community and bring people together. And I love that. Yeah,
it's a great, I like that you added the community aspect to it as well. The part that stands out for me in that question is passion for education and the desire to improve students' lives. Because at the end of the day, the job, as we've already talked about a bunch of times, is not always easy. So something needs to sustain you. You need to have like a North Star that's going to keep you going when things aren't always perfect. And passion is what ignites that fire, right?
Yeah, and what else do you do it for other than, this question number 1? That's a good one to start off with.
Awesome. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. Jordan, how do you feel about leading and managing a diverse team of teachers, staff, and administrators?
So for someone who is reflecting or discerning whether they might become a principal one day, I feel this is a pretty decent question to ask yourself, because the truth is you end up managing a diverse team of teachers, staff, and working with a diverse team of administrators as well. We can speak from our own experience. When I read this question, I think about it, yes, diversity in terms of maybe cultural diversity, gender diversity, but I also read it in terms of age diversity, different generations that you're working with, managing, leading, and you definitely do that in this role. And I guess the time you enter it might not be the same for everyone, but when you look at the different employee groups that you're working with, there's a huge span, and it's a very diverse system that you're working in. That might be different than as a classroom teacher working just with students who are, yes, there's some diversity within your students, but there's more, I guess, they're a bit more homogeneous as a group by age, sometimes even by learning ability. Sometimes they're grouped that way. So when you enter the world of managing or leading a school, it opens up, the range of people that you're working with opens up quite a bit. Would you say that's been your experience as well?
Yeah, and people have a passion for different things too. And, everyone's wheelhouse is a bit different. So they have competing interests, this team of people too, that you're leading. And what you're trying to do is pull them all together. And so you're rowing in the same direction. And it's not always the easiest thing to do as you transition from working with students where you really set the direction in your class and, you see where you want to take them. You're trying to do that with this group of people as it aligns with your own vision. But you're also trying to get the buy-in from everyone to make an effective school, right? To, again, go back to improve students' lives. And that's not always the easiest thing to do, so you got to be ready for it.
What's been one surprise for you, I guess, sorry to throw you a curveball, in working with people in this capacity versus as a classroom teacher? Anything that stands out to you and how you, I guess, interact with adult staff?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing is, I don't want to say how easy people with a conversation go along with what you're thinking, but how flexible people actually are, right? When you think you're working with a group of adults, sometimes conversations appear that they're going to be really challenging and difficult, speaking with trying to bring a diverse team of people together. But people are actually quite flexible when you come down and you identify, like, what are you fighting for? What are you going to argue? What are you arguing for? And at the root of it, we're all arguing for the same thing, right? So people get there pretty quickly. And I was kind of surprised by that.
That's a great insight. I would even say, you kind of sort of said it without saying it, is that this question could very well just have been said, how do you feel about listening to a diverse range of opinions or ideas?
That's a good one.
Or hearing from diverse perspectives? Because essentially when you're leading or managing, that's what you're doing anyway. So how comfortable are you listening and actually reflecting on those ideas that are brought forward by a range of stakeholders and diverse interests?
I love that.
Because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
We're listening a lot.
Absolutely.
Which is good. Awesome. So that's 2, right?
That's 3.
No, that was 2 discernment questions we did.
Oh, that is 2. You got
2.
It. All right.
So our third one is essentially asking you, if you're considering a leadership role or aspiring principal, are you comfortable with a level of public scrutiny and accountability that comes with the role?
And like when I think about this, thinking about public, really meaning like everyone's evaluating you and they're watching you. So whether that's students, staff, parents, people in the neighborhood or community, they're looking at what's happening at your school and they're looking at your body language, how you're responding to a question, whatever that might be, how you're leading, how you're engaging with parents and staff. Everyone, you're always on, right, when you're in front of other people. And I think you have to really be ready for that. And I think a great place to get to is really build that emotional intelligence to recognize different situations and how you handle them. And not that you have to have it all together right now, but you have to be prepared for different situations and how you react. And people are going to be watching you. And even this is also the types of decisions that you make. Are you going to be comfortable with handling criticism that's going to come after those things? And how you're going to communicate that and how you're going to respond to questions that you're going to get. Thinking about how you even lead a staff meeting or a PA day and welcoming or inviting those questions. So you're listening to others' opinions, going back to what you were saying just a bit earlier, and how comfortable you're going to be with being challenged out in the open, because that's really what's going to happen to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. You nailed all the points that I think people should be considering when they're thinking about taking on that role. And I'm sure to some degree people already that might be in the discernment process realize that could happen, but the extent to which maybe you don't feel till you get there. But yeah, it's really, think about maybe yourself as an educator. You've been sitting in a staff meeting, and what are your thoughts about how the meeting's going, like how the person who's leading it is doing? What does that sound like? Because once you get to the other side, that's going to be what people are going to be, how they're going to be judging you, right? And I think about that often. Like you said, what you say, what you do, what you don't do, how you communicate via email, how you even something as simple as the way you interact with parents, like you said, what your persona looks like on social media. People will find those things. You are more of a public person, and it's not all the time, like every day, but once in a while, those things, they're seen and they're visible, and you have to be ready to just stand by them and be comfortable with the decisions that you make, comfortable enough to be able to sleep at night, is what I say.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jordan, I'm going to throw you a curveball because I owe you one now.
Okay, fair enough.
As the role of principal, is it becoming more political these days than what you think people had to deal with in the past? What are your thoughts on that?
It's a great curveball. Absolutely. It can be very political. I guess you could take that a few different ways. Political in the sense of, are people asking you to stand for things, to represent one side or another? Is that political? Yes. And are people expecting you to respond a certain way based on your role and what they feel you should be representing? Absolutely. There's definitely some, I would think, scrutiny in that regard. But I think at the end of the day, you got to just be able to navigate that some way. And for me, my best way I can do it, and again, I've said this before on my own reflection, was being able to work in a Catholic school system. I do turn a lot to God and faith, and just trying to put my best foot forward to represent the best interests of the most stakeholders, but also at the same time making sure that we're taking care of maybe people who don't have a voice, like our vulnerable stakeholders in the entire education system. And sometimes people might think those things are political. I try not to make it political and just do the best for the most, but it's not always perceived that way. And knowing that I can rest that I made a good decision for what I needed to do in that moment or that particular time, that's the best I can do. And just not worry about what one side or another might think on that issue. And that's hard to do. Mm-hmm. That's really hard to do.
Yeah. Thanks.
Have you felt it as vice principal?
No. not the same level at all, right? That's something that comes across your desk, and we deal with different things during the day. So that's something that I know you deal with, but it's not something that I've had to experience just yet.
You'll get there.
Yeah. All right. Question number 4. How well do you communicate and collaborate with parents, community members, and school board officials? Why might this one be relevant?
Definitely in the role of principal, you're going to be asked to, or you should be communicating with parents and collaborating with parents. I know that we have like parent council that is definitely engaged in the life of the school and certain aspects of the school. And then community members, we're blessed to be at a school where we're like literally, like it feels like I know we said it before, like the heart of the community, but we're like literally right in the community. We have like residential right close to us, commercial right close to us. We're at a really busy intersection. So I feel like we're literally part of the community. So being able to connect and communicate and even collaborate with different people that have an interest in what's going on in the school is super important. And same with school board officials as well. And a lot of that, when I see that saying like communicate and collaborate, yes, there's definitely some element of collaboration that does occur. But communicating can take on a lot of different forms. Like it could be just the way you speak to someone when you're talking to them, but it could also be like your broader communication, like your website, your messages to parents, whole parent community. You do need to be in contact with people. And I think if you're going to take on the role, you need to have a strategy as to how you're going to communicate best with each of those parties. And it doesn't take, it takes some time to figure out.
Yeah.
It's not something you can just walk in day one and say, this is my approach, I'm going to stick to it. You might learn more as you get into it about how these stakeholders need to be involved in the happenings of the school. And every situation might be different, but learning that context is important. But yeah, I think you have to be able to communicate and collaborate with parents, community members, and school board officials as well.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, well said. I just feel like it's so important for a school to be accountable, right? Accountable to the community. And it's not going to just happen because you are the school, right? We're full of teachers and educators who are trying to do best by kids. We need to do something more in order to show parents that what we're doing is right, and we need to build their trust. Otherwise, our school's going to suffer because of things that are going to happen outside of the community, outside of the school, in the community. And I think when you have that buy-in, schools become a special place, and it's just that constant communication is so important to developing that relationship with them. And whenever we have problems in school, it's generally a breakdown of communication, right, between home and the school. So it just shows you how important that piece is.
Yeah, and even like you just said, the breakdown of communication, sometimes the messages that we try to communicate aren't always received either.
Yeah. And
we have to be aware of that. So like just because we sent an email to the parent community doesn't mean that everyone received it the same way. We can't assume that.
Yeah.
So if we get a call that someone's upset about something, and maybe it was something we already communicated in an email, they might not have received it. They might not have read it, and we can't really judge people for that either, right?
Yep.
So sometimes I think, I did a great job of communicating that. I sent an email. I sent it to all the parents know.
It was blasted out.
They
That's
all
right.
know, but they might not have read it, or it might have been like the 10th one they got.
Yep.
Maybe they have a bunch of students in their household that are at could be at different schools, or they got multiple communication points coming at them, inputs, and they just didn't read my email. Okay,
Yeah.
well, then I got to explain myself and be prepared for that, right? So I think no matter how well you communicate, you want to get ahead of things for sure, but you got to be ready to also sit with people if they didn't really get the communication.
Yeah. With you.
All right, so our last one. Number 5. Okay, so we feel a good discernment question, if you're pursuing the role of principal, would be to ask yourself, are you committed to ongoing professional development and staying updated on educational trends and policies? Matt, do you think that is a valid question to ask yourself if you're pursuing a role of principal or school leader?
Yeah, absolutely. The question really is are you willing to stay relevant and support the students in front of you? I was thinking the other day that there's enough time left in my career that I think it's kids born this year or next year. Like those would be the kids when they're in grade 9, I would retire, right? So these kids who aren't even born yet, they're going to be the kids in our classrooms. And it's thinking you have to be relevant because you're supporting teachers who are going to support these kids. And you have to lead in a way that you bring people along, and they have to see that people you're working with have to see you as being relevant in order to make an impact. And I think as soon as you stop learning, stop reflecting, your impact is going to be certainly weakened. And, that's going back to question number 1. Are you going to have a passion for kids? This is going to be part of it. The number 2 person in the school is the administrator who impacts kids, teachers number 1. And I really truly believe that there's a job here for a principal to impact what happens in the classroom.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Now, I will say, I know we talked about this prior, about how we can get caught up in a lot of the day-to-day aspects of the job and get overwhelmed with the amount of things that we're dealing with. But I think you would agree that staying connected to something and continuing to better yourself, whether it's reading, whether it's doing your master's, whether it's reading new things on educational trends or research articles, it keeps you ahead, right? It's just staying connected. And I find for myself when I seem to get maybe in a bit of a rut, it's because I forget to tap into that, or I've lost a bit of touch with that. And I check myself often, especially with reading. I know that I need to read every day. It could be educational, could be something that has impact on educational landscape of some sort, could be a leadership book. But I feel if I don't do that, I'm losing ground.
Yeah, and it's what's going to give you a fire to keep going, right? You have to find that for you. So I agree with that one.
Now, one last thing before we end here. So we talked about ongoing professional development. What is some ongoing professional development that you say is valuable for someone that might be pursuing the role of principal?
That's
think about what you've done.
Good one.
You've done a lot, so you just think about that.
Yeah, I'm going to share, and I'm going to share a bunch, I suppose. It's listening to those podcasts on the way in, if that's your thing. It's reading, like you mentioned, if that's your thing. Those leadership books or books about becoming a principal or mentoring or instructional leadership, anything. It's connecting with other people who are in the role already and seeing what they think about it and reflecting on your own personal leadership resources and see how you're developing along in order to make the leap into a formal leadership role like that. And I was thinking about one other one, but it escaped me. I'm going to pass on that last one right now.
You didn't mention your master's yet?
Oh, the junior master's, yeah.
That's a little thing.
Your formal education,
just a little
course.
thing.
Yeah, your formal education.
But you did that as you didn't do that straight out of teacher's college, right?
No, that came later, for sure. That was a COVID opportunity for me.
Same here.
Yeah. I had one other one, but...
AQs?
Skip me. AQs.
Yeah.
There's lots out there.
There is, and I think it doesn't just have to be, like we've talked about before, education specific.
No.
It could just be leadership skill development, something that's feeding you to make you better. Because if you're better, you're going to lead better.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's
right?
a good one.
Not bad.
Coin that.
Someone's probably said it, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take credit, but it's a good way to end.
Yeah, here you go.
So you want to recap the 5 questions for discernment?
Yeah,
I'll go the first one. Okay?
You know what? You have to do all of them.
I'll do them all.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's, again, these were generated by AI, but we compiled a big list and we whittled them down to 5 of decent ones for discernment for aspiring principals. So first question is, do you have a passion for education and a strong desire to impact students' lives positively? Second one is, how do you feel about leading and managing a diverse team of teachers, staff, and administrators? The third is, are you comfortable with the level of public scrutiny and accountability that come with the role? The fourth is, how well do you communicate and collaborate with parents, community members, and school board officials? And the final one that we discussed today, number 5, is, are you committed to ongoing professional development and staying updated on educational trends and policies?
There you go.
Not bad discernment questions.
Yeah.
We might have more in later episodes, but that's a good start.
Thanks,
Okay.
Jordan.
Awesome.
Way to go. Thanks, AI.
Okay,
Thanks for doing that for us.
Thanks
for listening to Becoming a Principal podcast. We're grateful for the time again that you spent with us, and we hope we've been helpful in some way to you. Be sure to check out our Instagram at Becoming a Principal podcast. Have a great day, everyone.